most important message people can take away from this, from a marketing standpoint, is make sure your customer knows what you are selling them.
You hear all the bull about marketing every day. Make your money in your sleep. My new offer is crushing it. My guru could beat up your guru. It's time to go right to the source and get the truth about marketing. With your host, the founder of copychief.com, Kevin Rogers.
Hey, welcome back to The Truth About Marketing. It's Kevin Rogers here. My guest today is Jenny Thompson. Very excited to dig deep on some really interesting topics with Jenny. If you don't know who Jenny is, quick bio. In 1996, she began working with Agora Inc., the major publisher. She began her career at the Oxford Club. In her first year there, she tripled profits. She then moved on to head up a fledgling health brand called New Market Health. And after just 10 months there, she increased the bottom line 500%. And in her role at New Market, Jenny introduced over a dozen additional paid and free newsletters, launched 3 supplement lines, acquired a skincare company. And at its peak, New Market Health marketed 18 paid and free newsletters, more than 70 dietary supplements, and 8 skincare products to more than, get this, 1.2 million customers and prospects around the world. So, as you can imagine, Jenny knows a thing or two about how to sell some products in the direct response world. So, Jenny, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I am thrilled to be part of it.
Thank you. Well, I tell you what, I want to go off course for just a second because it's a really significant moment in history right now as we record this. In just about a little over a month, our new president will be Donald J. Trump. And, you know, so much has been said about his campaign and, you know, his marketing tactics. I would love to hear from you. What if you had to say, you know, what's the one thing he did that landed him in office over this long, you know, campaign? What would you point to?
It's interesting, and I have to say I did twitch a little when you said our next president will be Donald J. Trump, because I don't know what he's tweeted in the last 5 minutes, but it's still I'm still coming down off the shock of it. I actually wrote a blog about this, and I think that the most important message people can take away from this, from a marketing standpoint, is make sure your customer knows what you are selling them. And my blog said, if Trump and Clinton were both trying to sell you a weight loss pill, Trump's would say, you are going to lose so much weight. You're going to look amazing. You might be a 4 right now. You'll be an 8, maybe a 9 when you're done with my weight loss pill. And Hillary Clinton would have said, we've done the research. We don't actually believe the claims that my opponent is making about his weight loss pill. We think it could be dangerous. We're not sure it's the best thing for the community. We're going to look into other options. So when you get to the end of each of their messages, you are excited about the possibility of what this person on the left is going to do. Now, you know, I'm sorry, I'm using my left hand. I guess the person on the right, sorry. You know that there's a good chance his promise won't come true. That's why a lot of these things sell. In the back of your mind, you know there's a good chance they won't come true, but you want it so badly. So if I'm going to make America great again, versus telling you that we'll be stronger together, which is kind of an obtuse idea, it's the digestible idea. It's the thing that I can quote, I can repeat. And I'll tell you, I thought the other person who didn't get enough credit in the last campaign for his marketing acumen was Herman Cain. And still today, you can ask people and they'll remember 999. And I remember this line he said, if 10% is good enough for God, then 9% should be good enough for the federal government. And that was a brilliant piece of marketing. I mean, there are other reasons, obviously, that he did not go further. But if you quote anybody, I defy you to quote me anybody else other than Obama from the last campaign and Herman Cain. So it's that quick, digestible message. I know what you're promising. I know there's a chance it won't come true, but I can quote it. The famous line in politics is, if it doesn't make a bumper sticker, it's not good politics. Donald Trump made a great bumper sticker, a crappy hat, but a great bumper sticker.
Here's my question about the hat. First of all, I always love the ball cap with the power suit. It's a hot look.
Yeah, it's a good look, yeah.
And I can only assume the hat is a result of a bad hair day. Right? It's why we all wear hats. We covered up. I'm bald, so it's not for me. But then I got to go, well, if the hat is for a bad hair day and what we see normally is a good hair day, what does a bad Donald Trump hair day look like, right? Like,
right.
Just literally like squirrels fighting it out on his screen.
But I'll tell you, I'll push back on that, and I know you're joking. I think the hat was brilliant because it's baseball, and what is more American than baseball? Right. So it wasn't modern. It was the cap that the World War II veterans wear, the baseball cap. It's the baseball cap that the people wore in the early 70s when the country was in crisis and they were connecting to their baseball teams. Like, that is a classic symbol of and making you part of a team. And it's interesting, and I'm going to digress a little bit, but it's still a marketing conversation. I heard someone interviewing a member of the Trump data analysis team a couple of weeks before the election, and they were mocking him, and they were saying, and I may be misquoting some of this. In fact, I'm sure I am. But they were saying, we've had our best month of baseball hat sales. And someone laughed at him and said, are you equating baseball hat sales to votes? You know that baseball hat sales don't turn into votes. Well, who else is going to buy a Trump baseball hat? Someone who's not going to vote for him? Right. So the media were actually mocking them that they were using data points that weren't relevant. And they were actually pretty cleverly saying, we actually think this is a more relevant data point than some anonymous pollster calling people at home when they don't want to be disturbed and trying to get them to admit that they're going to vote for Trump.
Right.
So it was a really interesting point there about how to find secret knowledge in your data.
Yeah, that is very relevant. Yeah, it's so true because it's a great point. You're not going to buy the hat and not go out of your way to vote.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think to me that was the difference, and then we'll get off of this. But, my takeaway was this, that people are always more – we know that prevention is hard to sell, right? And people they will get off their chair and go vote for something, and when it comes to voting against something, they will just hope that logic prevails. And
Absolutely.
there were so many polls – saying, I want to say HuffPost was giving him a 3.1% chance of winning or something, like the week of the election, something ridiculous.
Yeah, it was really low. Yeah.
And I'm, and so there you have it. So many marketing lessons. We'll be studying it for years.
And business, because I don't know if you know, but Paddy Power paid people out weeks in advance who chose Clinton because they were so sure she was going to win.
Wow.
So you could have claimed your Paddy Power win in advance.
Wow. Amazing. Okay, moving on. So Jenny, I also want to talk a little bit about where you are in your career right now, because it's a pretty exciting time in the world of Jenny Thompson. And I'd like to read from, there's a great blog post on GenerateMarketing.com. That's generate with a J, GenerateMarketing.com. And the first blog post is talking about your transition, which is pretty new, right? How long since you ended your incredible run with Agora and went solo?
Yeah, it's not even 6 months.
Wow.
And I was there for 20 years.
Amazing, yeah. So a lifelong, well, not in your case, but
almost.
Certainly could fill a life of experience. And you laid out these 5 reasons why you made this decision, and number 5 really struck me. So number 5, your 5th reason was create movement and watch what happens. And I just want to read a paragraph or two here. It says, when you are stuck in one part of your life, it brings stuckness into other parts of your life. More importantly, though, the opposite is true. That's why when you start a new hobby or visit a new place, it impacts how you think, how you do your job, how you approach your relationships, everything. Even if things are going well, you may be in a rut and need something new to impact the rest of your life. It's why I love New York City. It Its energy gives me energy. It makes me more curious and smarter. The takeaway is change begets change. Growth begets growth. When you move things forward in one area of your life, you create movement everywhere. If you're stuck somewhere, create movement anywhere and watch what happens. I just think that was beautifully written and 100% true. It's one of those things you can only know to be real if you've lived it, right?
Yeah, thank you.
So tell me your thoughts about that. What was the moment where you realized, if I don't do this, I'm closing the door on what the next chapter of my life should be in ways that I can't even know yet?
Well, and actually, I won't read from it, but there's another blog post I did that's relevant to this conversation about, are you a paraglider or a skydiver? And the idea is, if you're a skydiver, you're just going to jump out of a plane. If you're a paraglider, you kind of keep running until the mountain isn't under your feet anymore. And so for me, I had been thinking about leaving probably for the last 5 years, figuring out. And I knew I wasn't going to retire from Agora. I knew it wasn't going to be my forever plan, but I really loved it. And so it was comfortable, but there was a lot that I loved about it. And I was so instrumental in building the health business. And even though I wasn't an owner, I felt high level of ownership over the business. Mm-hmm. And so what happened is, somebody else offered me a job as a CEO of their business. And I realized I didn't want to leave Agora for the sake of doing the same thing somewhere else or being a CEO somewhere else, but I was ready to leave. And so that was my paragliding. I took this relationship immediately as a consultant. I said, I'm not going to run your business, but I'll help you build it, and then I'll get out of the way. I'll help you start it up, and then I'll get out of the way. And it is a startup with someone who's had a couple successful exits. And so to me, that's the idea. I'm running off a mountain, and then suddenly there's no land under my feet. So I'm still waiting for the part where there's no land under my feet, instead of going from Agora to this lucrative consulting retainer relationship. And so for 2017, that's where I'm really spending time now with my very small team, saying, we are going to create this business model and this brand that is exactly what I want to do and exactly what I love. And the number one thing there is, I don't want to be committed to an individual business in the way that you are when you're on retainer or when you're a CEO or an employee. I love thinking about everybody's business differently. And so one of my neighbors is creating an online fashion portal for people who ride horses. And I was like, can I just sit down and brainstorm with you? The guys a few blocks away who have a broth restaurant, broth, Brodo. And so they just opened a second one.
I just had Brodo last week, first time. Yeah, I was in New York City. It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, you should come back for it. It's my favorite thing. I mean, I go there twice a day sometimes. And so just thinking about, well, how do you increase foot traffic, and how do you start the shipping business without negatively impacting it? So I love these kinds of challenges. And when you're too involved in one thing, you don't get that. And so the change begets change. A lot of it was, what happened is I started working with some of the other Agora businesses in this capacity, going in and doing like a deep dive for a couple of days and helping them see things in their business they didn't see, whether it was opportunities or challenges. In 2 cases, I actually helped create a change in leadership where the CEOs didn't want to be in the CEO role anymore, but they didn't know how to step out of that role. And so really substantial change was happening there. And I thought, I love doing this. And I don't love just doing one thing anymore. And so actually, when I told Bill Bonner, the owner of Agora, that I was going to be leaving, and he asked me if there was anything they could do, I said, I really want to do something different, and we don't have something different enough for me here.
Yeah, great answer. Right. I'm sure he hated to see you go, but you have to respect that answer. And so Jenny, like, how will you now not allow yourself to become overwhelmed? I mean, it's great to do a lot of different stuff and to keep it fresh, but do you get concerned that, all right, if I'm not careful, I'll say yes to too many stuff, and next thing I know, I'll be underwater here?
Well, Kevin, you and I don't know each other that well. We've met a couple times. anyone who's listening to the podcast that does know me will know that I jokingly said yesterday, I think I put the direct in direct marketing. I've been pretty good about saying no. I've only been doing this for less than 6 months. I've already dismissed 2 clients who didn't have the structure in place where they could take advantage of the types of strategies I can help them with. So I need people who are going to be able to execute, and there's no value in having me on your team if that doesn't happen. So I told them my biggest fear is someone asking you what it was like to work with me and you say we didn't get any value out of it. I don't want to be in that situation. So like I've said, don't pay me. Let's just break up here. Yeah. And so saying no is not a problem for me. Yeah. I think the bigger problem for me is it's not FOMO per se. I really think I can impact any business. And so if they have enough structure in place to take advantage of it. So it's like I want to be involved in things that I may or may not have any business being involved in just because I kind of want to see if I can do it. So I think the biggest risk for me is saying to people, your business is so interesting to me. You don't even have to pay me. I just want to use it as a learning tool. And rent in New York City is not cheap. So that's not a great strategy moving forward.
Right. Yeah. Your lifestyle just took a big boost. No, that's cool. So it's a great answer. I mean, essentially what you're saying, without being cocky about it, is by virtue of your criteria, so few companies actually qualify that, it's easy to say no. Or it'll be easy to not get overwhelmed.
Well, the other thing I do, and so a lot of your listeners are copywriters. I think this is a really important point. Once you have enough credibility and success under your belt, don't charge what you're worth. Charge more than what you're worth. And so I charge a lot of money. And there are 2 reasons. One is because of the way I work, I really have to trade time for money. I haven't codified it. It's not something that you can just buy my course, and I don't have that model. And to be quite honest, I'm way too lazy to build enough of an online course and enough of a funnel that would be fun for me to do and let me stop working. And I think when you undercharge for your time, you let your client undervalue your contribution. And that is a very dangerous thing to do because in my case, if I undervalue myself and I charge people too little, then they think there's no point testing what I just gave them. Yes. Because it's easy to, and the example I always love to give, my boyfriend and I had 2 sets of concert tickets on a Friday and Saturday night. The ones on Friday night were in our neighborhood and they were $15 each. The ones on Saturday night were to see The Cure and they were $175 each. And Friday around 4:00, he said, I'm really tired. I don't want to go tonight. Now, ignoring the fact that it was The Cure, there's no way he would have done that if the tickets were $175. Right. He would have dragged himself out. And so I think when you undercharge, let's say you're a $5,000 copywriter and you decide to charge somebody $2,500 or $500, you're saying to them, I don't think I can impact your business. Feel free to ignore whatever I put in front of you. Mm-hmm. And I think you owe it to your customers, your clients, to charge them a little bit more than you're worth or than they think you're worth, to make them feel like, well, I better test it. We invested all this money. It's basically taking advantage of good money after bad syndrome, potentially. Right. Like they're not going to risk it. They're not going to risk they throw away this money on you. They're going to go ahead and add more to test it. And I think you owe it to them if you think your copy or your marketing advice or some other insight can build their business up.
That's a great point. And just a quick caveat, I don't think my listeners fall into this risk, but clearly Jenny is not saying fake it till you make it and charge a bunch and hope for the best. She's saying if the reason you want to be hired and partner with a company on this project is because you're certain that you can make an impact, charging the higher amount is doing both you and the client a service because it's much more likely that they're going to honor their investment by testing what you provide.
You said that so much better that I'm going to ask for the recording back so I can put that copy in a blog from me. But yeah, that's exactly the point. And it is certainly not fake it till you make it. In copywriting, I don't think you can fake it till you make it very well.
It'll end your career really fast. And unfortunately, some people get caught being the victim of somebody's fake it till you make it. And the sad result of that is they get bitter about hiring copywriters, and that's unfortunate because, as you know, Jenny, it's interesting to me. Everyone I know who has held similar positions as you in this amazing industry that we all get to enjoy have the utmost respect for the art of copy, for the best copywriters. Famously, our friend Brian Kurtz would say that the happiest check he and Marty would write was the $1 million to Gary Bencivenga, because
Absolutely.
How much did they just make, right? And
right, exactly.
Talk to me a little bit about. I mean, we could go on forever about the process of copy, but at Agora, you guys had an interesting system of you had in-house where everybody's critiquing each other, and I assume you were nurturing talent. Was that always the goal to kind of be a farm for your own best copywriters, or did you always ultimately feel like the only way we can fill this need is to also bring in freelancers?
We always used both. I think one of the things that was interesting is even though we had people in-house, it was hard to get someone who could write upfront cold acquisition packages successfully. People wrote much better back-end copy to our list. I think that we wanted to cultivate talent, but we wanted to cultivate them to stay. And so one of the things that's unique about the Agora model is that we paid the same royalties to our employees that we paid to freelancers. And we and I should clarify, I can't speak for all of Agora. I can only speak for Newmarket, and not anymore. But when I was there, one of my philosophies was that we have to treat the internal and external copywriters the same. A lot of times what would happen is we would get copy from an internal copywriter that would be pretty weak, and we would spend 6 months trying to make it better. If we got the same copy from a freelancer, we would say, this is crap, and we would turn it away. And that if we were going to invest time, we had to be willing to kill internal projects, and we had to be willing to invest time in external projects. But I think one of the other reasons that we spent so much time on copy, you have to look historically. Before everybody was marketing online, before there were so many copywriting groups and courses, it was something Bill Bonner and Mark Ford really excelled at, and we were better at it than anyone. I mean, Gary Bencivenga and Arthur Johnson and those guys aside, company-wise, we were better at copy than anybody because our owners were copywriters and our founders were copywriters. And so respecting that that ancestry and continuing it down instead of hoping that we would find something as good outside. I think that's one of the reasons it became such a part of our DNA. And companies that competed directly with us will tell you they were so frustrated that we were so much better at copy than they were.
I'm sure. Yeah. Bill Bonner, Mark Ford. I mean, just that's top of the heap. Awesome. Okay, well, I want to get to the essential question, and I'm really interested to hear your answer to this. So, Jenny Thompson, what is the one thing you've done in your marketing that produced the most surprising results?
Would you want an answer that was copy related or marketing test related? Because I have one of each.
I'd love to hear them both, actually.
So the copy is on 2 occasions, one in financial and one in health, we had products that were so expensive that when our customers got to the price tag, they got very upset with us because the copy had been so strong. They were excited to buy, and then they were angry that they couldn't afford it. So in both cases, we added a note before the promotion warning them. On the financial side, it said, if you don't have $50,000 you can invest, this product is not for you. On the health side, it said, this is the most expensive product we've ever offered. We thought about not offering it because even we were shocked by the price tag. If you are living paycheck to paycheck, please don't buy this product. And in both cases, it doubled response. which was not our intention at all. Our intention was to warn the customer, we don't want you to be dissatisfied. We don't want you to spend what you can't afford. And we were trying to offset a customer service issue. And in both cases, it doubled response.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's a great answer. What do you attribute that to?
I think it's the velvet cord effect times 10. So it's not just, oh, what's all this that other people can get into? It's us saying, I don't actually think you're good enough to get in here. And the person saying, oh, I'll prove to you that I am. And I think it's the fear of exclusion, which is very similar to the fear of loss. So they felt like they had the right to something and we were taking it away. And as anybody who writes copy or markets knows, the fear of loss is substantially stronger than the promise of gain. So the fact that I was going to take away your ability to join versus that I was going to give you the ability to join. Right. I think that's it.
Interesting. And I have to ask, did the resulting double in conversions then result in any customer support issues?
They went down substantially. I mean, people, it's also, there's a guy named Rich Tao. Do you know Rich?
No, I don't.
I met him through Brian Kurtz. He's a dial tester, would be a very interesting person to talk to about the campaign if you want to do that. But one of the things he was very focused on is the importance of anchoring. And when people have no idea how much something might cost, where they can go anywhere with it. And it's not just cost. It could be how tall somebody is or how old something is. And so they did this thing with like the height of a redwood tree. And if you say to people, do you think it's above 1,000 feet or below 1,000 feet? Like 40 or 50% of people will say above 1,000 feet when it's really like 300 feet. And so anchoring is a very important thing. And I think that even if you're not using specificity in your anchoring, the concept that this might be too expensive for you lets them anchor it to something. And so I think it's a combination of those two principles.
Fantastic. Okay. Wow. That alone was one of the best answers I think we've had. So eager to hear number two.
So number two is, it's not as finite and exciting, but number two is that I was very surprised. We did 2 tests on our website. One on our order form and one on our website. And so the first on our order form, we had an extra click in where you had to say, I'm from the United States. I'm not from the United States. And one of my team members was eagerly trying to get this removed. She was like, we have an extra click. We need to change it. And it was a programming issue, a major programming issue. They finally figured it out. They tested it. And it depressed response substantially. And I don't remember the percentage, taking it out. And so people wanted that extra click. And I thought that it was because they were used to it. And so they thought there was a security issue. So then we started testing it just as new people were coming on. And it still lost to have it out, which was really surprising to us. I think the more surprising thing, I never, ever change anything without a test. Unless I just make the decision that I'm going to change it anyway. So if somebody, like if a doctor wants their picture on something and is adamant that it has to be there, then there's no point testing it. But if there's the option, I will always test. Once in my career, I remember saying, just do it, which was we had a website where you had to enter your email address, your mailing address, all your credit card information before you could give us a promo code. So if we were offering you 25% off or buy one, get one free, you wouldn't know what your shopping cart total was and that we had honored that promo code until after you had given us your credit card. And to me, that seemed insane as a consumer. And we had an older audience and they're very fraud concerned and very insecure about the internet. So I said, yeah, just do that. We moved the promo code before you had to give us your credit card information. Instead of it being the last step in the shopping cart, it became the first or second. And we just did it. And then somebody came to me about 6 weeks later and said, our revenue from the website has dropped about $100,000 a month. We're trying to figure out why, but we think it's that change. And we went back and tested it and it was. And that was crazy to me. It never occurred to me that people would rather give me their credit card number before they would know that their promo code had been accepted. So that was the most surprising thing. And of course, the lesson it taught me is even when you're so 110% sure that you know exactly what the audience wants, unless it is a moral issue for you, something that the owner or partners are insistent on. If it is testable, test it. Never, ever, ever assume, because the company would be $150,000 or $200,000 richer today, bottom line, if I hadn't made that mistake.
Wow. Thank you for that honesty. So it's easier to say after you retire. No.
Well, yeah.
Well, that's the beauty of being at a company like Agora. They understand that everything we're doing is testable, and certainly you balance that out in the positive.
I think I made them a couple of dollars over the years, but we always had a philosophy that you should fail, but fail fast.
Yeah.
And one of my core beliefs is that leaders should never apologize for making. Leaders should admit to and apologize for their mistakes. They should just never apologize for making decisions.
That's great. I love that. Quick last thing here that's interesting to me, because you brought up a spokesperson or doctor putting their photo on the fight that pays, that kind of thing. Always fascinated to me. I think it's there's a market. It's almost like central casting, right? Some movies are so well cast that it really strikes you that, man, you actually think the casting agent did a great job here. I think it's as important who represents products. In a lot of cases with New Market Health, you were representing the product. You were the voiceover. Was that decision made primarily because it was essentially you were the head of the company and it was your name on the bottle, so to speak, or was it, well, we need the VO to be in-house because it's easier and quicker to make changes that way, or somewhere in between?
It was neither of those things. It was years ago, we had two people quit in close succession, and I said, you know what, just put my name on it. I'll probably be here the longest. And then when we went to VSL, I was pretty, I think people in-house felt that I actually was the best voice actor we had, and that I was really passionate. Mm-hmm. And it was more genuine for it to be me. And so I did it. And I really believed very, very strongly in what we were doing at HSI and why we were doing it. And I think that came through in my voiceovers, but there was never with me, there was never a question of whether I would do my own voice. For other people, we did get voice talent because the doctors can be very difficult to get time with. Mm-hmm. I will caution people, that's a tricky thing to deal with because you can't have two voices with the same name. And so if you have your doctor out publicly, even if you don't like their voice for VSL or they're not available, use a head of the supplement company to do the VSL and just have little clips from your doctor or something. You don't want two voices with the same name. People will figure it out, and it is disingenuous.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I know, very high volume companies who do that. They hire a voice actor, and it doesn't even sound like a real person, right? It's like, hi, I'm Larry from this company, and you're like, no, you're not. You're not Larry. Larry doesn't talk that way.
Well, actually, we always would coach our voice actors. Like, no, you don't sound real enough, and it was a big deal that we wanted someone who sounded very natural. And hands down, the best example of this, if you ever get a chance to listen to the original End of America, Porter was very nervous, and it was not what anybody would consider a good recording. Mm-hmm. And it was revolutionary in the market. I think he got more confident as it went on, and I think that probably ruined it a little bit, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, said that it only brought on a few 100,000 customers a year instead of 1 million. It's easy to criticize Porter in the rearview mirror, but I think that honesty of the voice is an important part of it. Agreed,
100%. Awesome. All right, Jenny, I hate to end this because there's so much more we could explore. I feel like we've only scratched the surface, but I really appreciate your time, and thanks for being on today.
Absolutely. I had a great time, and I could do it all day because you're giving me like 10 ideas for blog posts. So
awesome.
Hopefully you won't feel too plagiarized when you see them.
No, as long as you'll come back and we'll do it again. As soon as you run out of blog ideas, we'll do this again.
Anytime. Thanks,
all right, it's
Kevin.
Generate Marketing with a J, JENERATE marketing.com. Go check out Jenny, and there could be a book next year, huh? Yeah, is that still? We hope
there's going to be a book. The book is in the works, and there's going to be like a program I'm very excited about.
Awesome.
So.
All right, great. You'll be hearing more about that. GenerateMarketing.com. Hey, thanks again for listening to the Truth About Marketing podcast. If you like this show and you think other people would like this show, the best way to spread the word is by reviewing and rating the show in iTunes. Just log in, click review, leave a big old fat 5-star review, and let everybody know that you dig the show so that they can dig it too. To get all the links and resources we mentioned on today's episode, please go to copychief.com/TAM, as in Truth About Marketing. And if you'd like to learn more about how you can improve your sales copy with templates, formulas, coaching, feedback, or hiring a pro, do all that on the inside of the members area of copychief.com. And I will look for you there. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.